Hello, this is Angelia, and you are listening to or watching the podcast, Why You Do What You Do. The podcast that talks about human development and psychology to maybe help you figure out a little bit more about why you do what you do. Today, we're going to talk about theory and research on psychosocial development. That's, the way you think and then how you socialize and things. We're always developing, even when we're very old. How much does personality change in late life? Now, some people, have done research on that and studies, and we all know people who were maybe nice when they were young, then when they get old they're mean, or were mean when they were young, and when they get old they're nice. So, we do change, and your personality can change later in life, especially as your hormone level drops. When your hormone level drops, sometimes women get more aggressive. Sometimes men get more passive. And in the case of people with bipolar, once the hormone levels start to drop, it helps the disease. So, your personality can change as you get older. Not much, according to some research. Still, the experience of such people as Jimmy Carter leads some theorists to view late adulthood as a developmental stage with its own special issues and tasks. Because, once you are established, once you get your kids raised, and you no longer have to, work and do things, then you have time for you. You have time to work on you. You have time to pursue hobbies that you didn't get to before, or to do even a career if you wanted, that you didn't get to do before. So, when you get older in later life, this offers you more time, to do the things that you love and want to do. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people decide that when they're done working and, the kids are out and everything, then it's time for them to sit and just watch TV. What that does is give you depression, makes you have an attitude about life, because you are depressed. But the way to solve that is to get up and do things. If there was things you wanted to do when you were younger, but you didn't get to do them because you had a family or you had to work or whatever, then you can come back and do these things. If you didn't have the best childhood, now's a great time to do some inner child work. You can go back and talk to your inner child and tell them you're the parent from now on, you're going to be there and you're going to take care of them or whatever. Go to therapy, get your stuff sorted out, so that, you can have a better last part of your life, and again, most of us had things we wanted to do, but we couldn't do, didn't have time for, and later life is now the time to do those things, just don't sit there and be depressed and stare out a window and think your life is over, because it's only that if you choose to let it be that. Many older people re-examine their lives, and a lot of people do. Most of my coaching clients were over 50. So that tells you right there that later in life is when people start to say, came up like this, been like this is not working anymore. Now maybe is a time for me to talk to somebody about this, because I want to be happy. I got all this time to myself now, and I want to do something and be happy with my life. So later life is a good time to re-examine your life and figure out where I used to have a coaching class, and the motto of it was, let's figure out why your train of life derailed and how to get you back on track. And there were a lot of steps to it. But anyway, I had someone actually finish it before, wanting to go to a group or whatever, because I had a counselor with the agency that I had helped start. They go to counseling, then they come for support group and, maybe life coaching and things to get the little fine point details nailed down. And she had a great rest of her life. She ended up getting dementia, passing, but the rest of her life was good. She went out and did a lot of things. She had fun. And, that's great. I think we should all be like that. We should all, fix the stuff that we didn't get to fix later or earlier. And that can make your life a whole lot better. Complete unfinished business. And we all who watch Casper know about the unfinished business thing. Don't be a ghost with unfinished business. But, sometimes we do. Sometimes we have stuff that we wish we would have done. That's one of the things that I did when I got out of therapy was, we were talking about working on reconciling with people that you might have done wrong. And there were a few people that I felt like, maybe I had said a bad thing to them, or, maybe did something that I know made them feel bad or whatever. And so I did that. And most of the time they were like, oh, well, I didn't even think about that. That wasn't even, I didn't even take it that way. So evidently I felt more guilty than they did. But, it is a good time to get your hash settled, as the saying goes, and sort it out, because we don't want to go with regrets. Get your business finished and decide how best to channel their energies and spend their remaining days, months, or years. And again, like I said, life is what you make it. So, if you're depressed, sad, thinking your life is over because you're in late adulthood, no, it's not. There's a saying, age is just a number. Well, no, because age does carry some weight. My arthritis, it was cold and wet yesterday. My arthritis was definitely telling me I wasn't 20 years old anymore. So, it's a reality. But, life is what you choose to make it. You may not be able to do some of the things you did when you were younger. But, you can still do some things. If there's things you wanted to do, do them. Don't just sit there and waste away and have a miserable life, because it's up to you. No one's going to drop. I mean, it's so super, super rare. And you're going to drop some kind of opportunity or thing in your lap. You have to go and make it happen. Acutely aware of the passing of time, some wish to leave a legacy to their children or to the world. And now I had helped start a charity with some friends. And we did stay open for 9 years. We helped 188 people. So we did some good in the world. But I wanted it to continue past me. But, we never got enough community support and finances to make that happen. So when I had to quit, because of my health, I couldn't do the charity justice anymore. Another agency was supposed to absorb it, and then they changed their mind. And then we took resumes for 30 days, and we couldn't find anyone who was qualified, who was actually telling the truth on the resume, because a lot of people, I think you won't check references, but we checked every reference. And if your reference didn't check out, then, of course, we're not going to hire you. That would kind of be cutting our nose off, so to speak. Pass on the fruits of their experience. And that's what I'm doing right here. Passing on the fruits of my experience. Because I lived through some stuff. I had no help. Didn't know where to turn. Went to a couple of therapists. One of them, I think, was mentally ill themselves. And I think the last statistic I heard from a psychologist was about 52% of people get into mental health because of their own issues. So I think he needed more help. But I finally got the right therapist. And went to a couple of groups and, got the right help. And since I knew it was so hard to find the right help, I wanted to help other people. I didn't want other people to go through the stuff I went through. I didn't want people to feel alone and ostracized like I felt. So, even when I was starting in my bachelor's and found out I couldn't get a license here in the state of Kentucky, I continued my education because I wanted to have that information to help with my clients. So, you might want to do that. You might want to teach others something you learned. You might want to help people with things that you've lived through. I knew a woman lost 60 pounds and, became a weight loss coach and, was doing some good stuff. So that might be something that you want to do. Something that you learned that you are good at and you can teach other people, because we all have something to give back. And validate the meaning of their lives. What was your life all about? Now, when you get into your late years, is the time to think about, what was my life all about? And if you're not happy with what it was all about, it's time to do some changing. Change some stuff up and make your life better. One of the things when I was younger, I was told to keep secrets. Don't tell people, what goes on there. And so I developed a bad habit of that, and I would make up stuff or, well, no, no, it's like this. And it messed me up. It made me mentally off because I felt like I had to keep secrets. And so once I got out of therapy, that was my number one thing. I'm not keeping anybody's secrets anymore. I wrote a book series called The Secrets of the Closet Monsters. And it was, coming out with everything that had happened to me, and, how these secrets were supposed to be kept. Don't talk about them. Don't tell nobody nothing. So, I was purging that garbage from my soul, because it had weighed on me. Sometimes stuff can be really heavy on us. And like I said, if we don't take the garbage out, it's going to sit there and fester. So, that's why I, have done the things that I do. Now, other people, like I said, if you have something that you learned, that you could teach other people, that might enrich your life. Is to teach other people, or help other people in some way that you, learned or taught something or, that you needed help with and you got help with and, it worked out good for you. But you can go and do those things and teach other people something to enrich your life so that you don't have regrets and an empty life when the end comes. Others simply want to take this last chance to enjoy favorite pastimes or to do things they never had enough time for when they were younger. And some people do that. Some people take up, sports at an old age, like I think we read a while back about a 102-year-old man running in a marathon. But, you're not going to beat young folks and you're not going to be that great, but you're doing it. You're doing it. And that's the important thing, is to do something with your life. Because you don't want to have regrets when you go. You want to, let's see, who said it? I can't remember. But anyway, at the end of your life, you should be skidding in sideways saying, that was awesome. But, that's what you want to do. You don't want to just waste away and be sad and depressed and, unhappy and die with unfinished business. Theory and research on psychosocial development can tell us about the final phase of the lifespan. Because, psychologists and psychiatrists have done lots of research. There's lots of theories about that. So we know that near the end of the lifespan, we start thinking about, well, what was my life all about? What did I do? What was done to me that, has affected me? What can I do about it? And, what can I do with my life to make it a better life in my last year so that, I don't die with, regrets and depression. About ways older people cope with stress and loss. And older people don't cope as well with stress as younger people do. They start to have memory issues. They start to have confusion, and that leads to easier stress because they're afraid they're not dealing with things right, and it shows. And so that causes them stress. And unfortunately, once we get up into late adulthood, we start losing people. You might lose a spouse, you might lose a relative close to your age. Friends. I've been recently, in the past 6 months, to 2 friends' funerals. So, that's not great that people my age are now passing away. You know, that doesn't make you feel awesome. And, I'm glad I'm doing something with my life, to help other people. And, when your friends who are your age, you came up in school with it, when they start going, then there's the possibility that you can too at any minute. You realize, when young people think they're immortal. I watch that with my kids and people, young 20-something, they think they're immortal. It's not going to happen to them, And in fact, I remember when my sister was little, she got hit by a car and she passed away from her injuries later on. But she used to run out in the road, and I remember my mom pulling her back one time, and she said, "You got to stop. You can't do that." And you might get that would never happen to me. And that's how kids think. Is they're immortal. Nothing bad's ever going to happen to them. And then when you get up in their 30s, we start to feel like, it could be possible in the 40s. And then when you get in your 50s, you realize it's going to happen. Getting arthritis, getting slower. It's harder to remember things. It's going to happen. You probably, if you're in your 50s, you probably got a good 30 years more, if not more than that, left. But you might not. Like I said, there's no guarantees. We could check out anytime. My son, when his, mamaw passed away, said, when it's your time to go, you go. And that was true. He was pretty close with her, and she passed away when he was 2 years old. So I remember he was at the hospice, and, he was laying in the bed with her. But he just accepted that, it's like, when your time to go, you go. And that's true. When it's our time to go, we're going to go. We can go kicking and screaming, or we can just be like, okay, but we're going to go. And what constitutes successful aging? Now, we heard earlier on one of these that people don't like that, successful or what, because that's personalization, and an opinion on what is successful to one person. One person might think going out and doing things is successful. Another person might think having time to sit on their butt and watch TV because they were so busy with their life earlier is successful. So, basically, it's what success means to you. I'm sure you've heard that before. But it is. Whatever you think is a successful old age is what's going to make you happiest in old age. If you want to go out and do things and, get to do things you didn't get to do when you were young for one reason or another, that's probably what's going to make you happy. If you think successful aging is, hey, I got old, I got retired, served my time, now I want to sit here and do nothing. If you think that makes you successful, then that's what's going to make your life feel successful near the end. So again, it's objective, based on everyone's thing. And then optimal aging. Again, people are kind of, I don't know. But basically, optimal aging means you're getting the most out of life that you want. You're taking care of yourself, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, so that your aging is optimal. It's the best possible outcome for you. And like I say, some of that's subjective, some people think you have to eat right all the time and exercise and be involved in every activity that comes along. And other folks think, if I get to drink my Coke and eat pie for breakfast and sit around and watch TV, that's optimal aging for me. So, it's not for me. But, for some folks, that's how they feel about it. So, there's a lot of theory, and there has been research done on psychosocial development in late adulthood, and that's what it has to tell us. So, I hope this helps figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. Please like and share this educational program so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. My goodness, I'm trying to not cough and make myself choke. Thanks for watching. That's all for now. Until next time.